After a devastating crash in New York State, Wisconsin state troopers are reminding us how to check a limo company before we book.
And 2 people are dead, and damage is widespread across the southern coast, where now Tropical Storm Michael is still hitting millions of people.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to News 3 This Morning. 6 o'clock now on this Thursday, October 11th. And boy, some of those pictures out of Florida, they're kind of hard to look at.
Unbelievable. Whiteout conditions with the heavy rain and the strong winds. It made landfall with winds 2 miles an hour slower than a Category 5 storm.
Wow.
So a very Category 5 storm. So very strong Category 4 storm. And I didn't tell our director Sue this, but I do have the current picture of the now Tropical Storm Michael up on the weather maps if she wants to pull that up. Still looking very impressive, pretty organized. It has weakened though. Now it is a tropical storm. Still has winds about 50 miles an hour with some very heavy rain. It's going to move over the Carolinas this morning, moving at about 21 miles an hour to the north and east, so it'll move through pretty quickly. But still, the winds and the rain are not going to be good for the Carolinas today.
Yeah, definitely not. Wisconsin National Guard members, Red Cross volunteers all on standby, ready to head east. As Leah mentioned, 2 people killed already when trees fell on top of those victims. One of them was a child as well. And as you know, Hattie just mentioned, this is just going to pound those areas that were already hit by Hurricane Florence. So really just not great news. The good news is it is moving quickly.
It is, yeah. Several inches of rain still possible today, but it'll be back out in the Atlantic by later on tonight. So that is the good news, but still a very impressive storm, one of the strongest to ever make landfall.
Yeah, very scary. Look, I just can't get over that video. It's a good reminder, though, that we are pretty fortunate here, especially knowing that we have a couple of days to dry out.
Yeah, we do. Our forecast is really changing.
Yeah.
The weather pattern here is going to dry out, but we're definitely turning colder, and you'll notice that this morning. Take a look at what we have on the satellite and radar maps here in Wisconsin, showing a clearing trend with those clouds. I don't think they have cleared out that quickly. It's a little tough to see right now. It's still very dark, but we're likely going to see clouds last through the morning. You may be hearing the winds outside your windows this morning. They're very gusty at times. Gusts have been in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range overnight. Sustained wind speeds are still anywhere from 10 to 25 miles an hour. That means there is a little bit of a wind chill factor this morning. You'll want to rethink the clothes today, probably, especially compared to the last couple of days. Put away the flip-flops, grab the jacket today. 46 is the high. That west-northwesterly wind will be relentless, at least through the morning. Here's a look at your first alert traffic maps early today. The winds have closed the Merrimack Ferry, so be aware of that. Otherwise, here in Madison, no major issues to report on the Beltline or in the downtown areas. I looked around the region and there aren't any accidents either at this time, which is always good news.
Yeah, definitely, especially those high winds. I mean, we were talking, you could feel them in the car, and there's no wonder that the Merrimack Ferry is closed.
Yeah, they're whistling through the trees in the backyard weather patio. It's windy.
All of the hairspray, folks, all of it.
She still looks lovely, though.
There's not enough.
Yeah, there's not enough
today.
All right, thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
In upstate New York this morning, a man is out on a $150,000 bond in connection with that deadly limousine crash that killed 20 people. 28-year-old Naaman Hussein is facing a charge of criminally negligent homicide. He's the operator of the limo company whose vehicle was involved in that crash. The owner, Hussein's father, is a former FBI informant. He is not facing charges at this time. Federal documents show that limo failed an inspection just last month, and it wasn't properly registered. The driver, who also died in the crash, had been ticketed in August for not having the right license.
Wisconsin State Patrol says it continues to inspect limos and shut down companies that aren't authorized to drive them safely here in the state. That said, insurance requirements have actually gotten less strict since a Monona woman died in a limousine crash on the interstate back in 2016. That same year, a News 3 investigation found half of all limos and buses that are routinely checked for events like Packers and Brewers games did not pass inspection. Those inspections are not required under Wisconsin law for vehicles that hold 16 passengers or less. And last year, state lawmakers lowered minimum insurance requirements for those vehicles as well. Now, State Patrol does have an information line you can call to check limo company records before booking. That number is on your screen there, 608-276-9762.
More than a dozen people are recovering this morning after a carbon monoxide leak at a food plant in Portage sent them to the hospital. It happened when someone at Don's Food complained of being lightheaded, and a maintenance worker noticed condensation on the door where the hot water heater was located. They think that hot water heater was the cause of that leak. First responders found carbon monoxide levels at 800 parts per million. For reference, normal levels are around 4 to 7 parts. At least 14 people had to be taken to the hospital. 2 are out this morning. The other 12 are stable and under observation. A Milwaukee sausage company is recalling 26,000 pork products this morning over some listeria concerns. The Journal Sentinel reports Malone's Fine Sausage issued that recall for ready-to-eat pork head cheese. If you have any of the stuff sitting in your fridge with sell-by dates between October 26th through December 5th, you should toss it. You can also take a look at the establishment number right there on your screen. We'll have that information over on channel3000.com as well.
6:05 right now, and mental health experts say headlines about the Me Too movement and hearings on Capitol Hill have more people reporting sexual assault.
That means more legal action and more people reaching out for help. Our Christina Laurie talked to the experts about the conversations we should be having with our kids about the issue. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Leah and Danica. Almost 12 months to the day since the Me Too movement began, sexual assault cases continue to dominate the headlines. And local psychiatrists say now is the perfect opportunity for a teaching moment with your kids. Dr. Maureen Rickman of Psychiatric Services here in Madison say it's important for parents to be part of the solution in helping keep the next generation safe. So how do we do that? Well, she says kids learn through play, usually during games like capture, where they're chasing each other around. If one of the kids is acting differently than the other, she says that's usually an indication that person is uncomfortable, a feeling that can transfer to other things in life too.
What you get is people who are the aggressors getting good at reading the cues when the prey or the victims are not having fun anymore.
Dr. Rickman says that's when you, as the parent, step in, asking your kid if they see anything wrong in the situation. If they don't, you point out the cues and teach them what is and isn't okay. But it's not just little kids who are running around playing games of capture. Psychiatrists are worried about older age groups as well. Coming up just after 6:30, I'll have more on what age group is most at risk of falling victim.
We have so many conversations about how important it is to talk about this, but you don't necessarily think about the younger generation.
Yeah, absolutely not.
All right, Christina Laurie, we'll check in with you in a little bit. Thanks so much.
6:07 right now. Madison police say they are nominating 2 building managers for a city award after they saved a woman from a sexual assault attack in broad daylight. Billy Vorlander was one of 2 construction workers who ran to that woman's rescue Tuesday morning. Madison police say that woman was walking along East Johnson Street just before noon when a man groped her from behind, ran away, and then grabbed her again. Vorlander and another building manager were working on a lift at an apartment complex across the street. They were able to run over, help that woman, and flag down a police officer who was driving by. A 32-year-old was later arrested for that alleged assault. Vorlander says that incident made him realize he's lucky to be able to walk around without having to worry like some women do on a regular basis.
Good on those men.
Yeah,
for helping
absolutely.
Out.
They said it was second nature and they'd do it all again.
Love it. All right, 6:08 your time now. The FDA says an older age group is now approved for the HPV vaccine. Dr. Mandira Mehra from SSM Health is in to talk about the reason behind the change and what it could mean for out-of-pocket costs.
Sun's coming up today, but the temperature's going way down. And Hattie is talking about a freeze overnight. Her first alert forecast is up next right here on News 3 this morning.
Good morning from the patio. It's definitely windy outside this morning, and we still have a few sprinkles coming down as well. Clouds in the area and colder temperatures. That'll be the case for the day today. Take a look at high temperatures yesterday. Now keep in mind that most of those highs were real early in the day, especially for central and southern Wisconsin. But I show this map so you can see what the northern part of the state dealt with yesterday. Temps were only in the 40s. That's what we have here in southern Wisconsin today. And that cold air continues to settle in tonight as skies clear out and the winds die down. We have widespread frost conditions expected with even the potential for a hard freeze. So it's looking more and more like tonight could be an end to the growing season for many places in southern Wisconsin. I think the exception would be those areas right along the lakeshore, which get the benefit of the lake this time of the year. But a freeze warning in effect for our entire area. And if you are thinking about protecting sensitive plants, you're going to be very busy the next several nights because we have freezing conditions expected tonight and tomorrow night, and then again heading into next week. So you'll have to protect them many nights if you want to save them. Here's a look at satellite and radar trends. It is showing a big hole in the clouds, but I don't think the clouds have cleared that much just yet. There is some snow still falling with this system, but it's well up to the north, and it's not going to bother us today. A live look from the Edgewater Sky Cam downtown Madison. No issues with fog this morning. Temperatures are the story, though. It is 30 degrees colder than it was this time yesterday. Here's the actual number: 39 in Madison, 38 in the Dells, 38 as well in Monroe. Add to that a wind out of the west, anywhere from 10 to 25 miles an hour, gusting even higher at times. And yep, I'm going there this morning. Here's a look at those wind chills. This is what it feels like outside today. It feels like 29 in the Dells, 28 in Mineral Point and Monroe, and just 32 here in Madison. Future track shows you clouds hanging around through the morning hours, but then clearing for the afternoon. Temperatures should top only in the mid-40s today. Big change from the last couple of days. Clearing and then continuing for the overnight hours. That'll lead to temperatures again below the freezing point tomorrow morning. Here's a look at your extended forecast. Again, that alert day in the forecast for those freezing conditions tonight into early Friday. Stays chilly through the weekend, but what you're not going to see in this extended forecast is a lot of rain. Just a chance Saturday night with a cold front, and then again on Tuesday. Now it's time to get a look at your first alert traffic maps this morning. Josh Tim has all the details. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, good morning. A quiet start so far on the Beltline. Just a few brake lights near the Stoughton Road exit heading westbound, but really nothing that'll slow you down at this point. Other routes here in Dane County not looking too bad either. Just a few patches of slowdowns on the inbound side of East Washington between 1st and Blair Street heading toward the Capitol Square. No delays downtown around the Capitol Square and UW campus. Volume is not an issue at this point. And other routes and highways heading into the Madison area are moving along at the usual speeds right now with no major delays. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Hattie. 6:14 your time now. The FDA has some new recommendations out about when people can get vaccinated for HPV.
Yeah, the CDC says nearly all men and women will get at least one type of this virus at some point in their lives. Dr. Mandira Mehra with SSM Health is here to talk about what's now recommended. And Dr. Mehra, before we get to maybe the implications of all of this,
right,
I think the first question is why? I mean, why expand?
Right.
We're talking about an older age group here for HPV when we've mostly heard about this for teenagers.
Exactly. We always talk about when this first came out in 2014, we were so excited. We said, wow, we have an HPV vaccine. And directly or indirectly, if you understand the science, that really means we have a cancer vaccine. This is something we dreamed about for years. Is could we just create a vaccine that would prevent a cancer? And so here we have basically a vaccine that can prevent many types of cancers, cervical cancer, vaginal cancers, some head and neck cancers. Initially, we thought, let's target that teenage population, right? Basically recommended for ages 9 through 26, really 11, 12, 13-year-olds. Now the recommendations from the FDA are expanding to age 27 to 45. And the reason is that there are so many social situations where you may actually think people may not have been exposed to HPV yet, but still could be. Now remember, there's many different types of this HPV virus, over 150 strains. This Gardasil vaccine actually covers 9 only, but it can cover up to 90% of most of the common HPV cases. So really in other countries where this has become really prominent and really the public health crisis, not crisis, but public health cry has made people realize to get it, they're talking about eliminating cervical cancer.
Wow.
So think about the social implications of that. Australia, particularly this year, has been in the news saying we may not have cervical cancer in 15, 20 years because so many people have successfully gotten the vaccine. So here's a vaccine that can prevent, of course, HPV. Here's a vaccine that can keep us safe. And here's a vaccine that at the end of the day could prevent lots of types of cancers.
It's fascinating.
Briefly,
Yeah.
there are some implications for out-of-pocket costs
There
as well.
are. So, of course, when the FDA doesn't really recommend or suggest something, what does that mean for us? If I wanted to go get this tomorrow, I'm
Right.
paying out of pocket $400, $600, something in that range. Once the FDA tends to recommend something, insurance companies take that seriously and say, well, maybe now we need to start covering it. So that means, of course, it'll be more available for all of us.
We also want to talk a little bit about the weather. It's been
Yeah.
changing so much, especially this week. And I know Danica and I are especially susceptible to getting sick.
We're just bracing for it. We're just
Yeah,
ready.
I mean, is that a possibility? Do people get really sick during this roller coaster weather?
This is, $1 million question. It's sort of the old wives' tale. The grandmas always say, wrap up the kids and keep them
Yes.
bundled up. And scientists and doctors for years have said, I don't know if there's any truth to that. I think it's just a behavioral thing and people are inside. Now we have a lot of data to suggest actually some different reasons. So we have to say this very carefully. Cold weather does not make you sick. So it's not the weather, it's not the temperature drop per se. But what is happening is it makes you more susceptible and potentially makes viruses like the famous flu virus, does make that more susceptible, more likely to cause us to be more infected. So when the temperatures drop, perhaps our immune systems become a little bit sluggish.
Sure.
The flu virus is much more likely to survive in cold, crisp air, dry temperatures, things like that. So this is why this is also the beginning of flu season. So yes, the cold weather may not directly be doing it, but it's not in your head. We actually do become a little bit more susceptible to getting sick.
Something we're all thinking about this week, especially.
Oh,
So
yeah.
stay warm.
Yeah, yes, exactly. All right, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Great being here.
Yeah, good to see you. 6:18 right now, and Madison police officers who can speak Spanish, Hmong, or really any other language could get a raise or bonuses under one of the many recommendations being talked about at a city meeting tonight. We'll tell you more about that coming up after the break.
Patty's not speaking my language this morning. She's talking about a major cool down, 30 degrees or more, plus a freeze warning for your Friday. Not what my one outdoor plant that's still alive or my pumpkins want to hear. We'll check in with her next on News 3 This Morning.
Good morning. If you're having trouble waking up this morning, just step outside. Mother Nature will do it for you, no problem. Temperatures are much colder this morning than they were this time yesterday. Take a look at the numbers. We're down about 30 degrees from this hour yesterday. Here are the actual air temperatures. 39 here in Madison, 37 in Mineral Point and Platteville, 38 in the Dells. Your bus stop forecast as you head to school, temps will be right around 40 degrees. It's going to be very windy, especially through the morning. Winds will die back a little bit for the afternoon, but it stays chilly with highs around 46. Skies should clear for the afternoon hours. An alert day is in the forecast. As you head to school tomorrow morning, temperatures will be below the freezing point most likely. Freezing conditions are expected tonight into early Friday, and then chilly weather sticks around through the upcoming weekend. Have a wonderful day.
Hattie, thank you so much. Later today, Madison Police will look at recommendations to pay some of its officers more for being able to speak multiple languages. That was one of many suggestions made by a private consultant after a review of the department last year. The report encourages MPD to incentivize bilingual officers for responding to calls that could require a second language speaker, instead of relying on people at the scene to help with those translations.
A Sun Prairie deputy, a Portage police officer, and a Madison-based state trooper are among more than 24 members of law enforcement being honored at the state capitol later today. 25 people will be recognized at this year's Wisconsin State Patrol Awards ceremony. That includes law enforcement officers who've saved a life in their daily duties or went above and beyond what's required of them. State Patrol says many of those cases involved using Narcan in an overdose situation. That ceremony starts at 1 p.m. in the Assembly Chamber.
A lot of people make an effort to live by the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. There's that. And then there's Jake Neeson. He is renovating a home in Portage that he bought with his own money, transforming it into a sober living home for people struggling with addiction.
I felt like there needs to be more than just a 3-hour counseling session, 3 days a week. And this is so hands-on that this will provide the best safety net for people.
Tonight on News 3 at 10, we will tell you more about Jake and why he is so passionate about his cause.
We said this earlier, but boy, this story really gives you some faith in humanity.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into that house right now. He is just working hard, too. I mean, he's only a few weeks in, and you see it there. It is pretty amazing.
Looking forward to hearing his story.
Yeah.
All right, 6:24 your time now. Madison police are investigating a shooting that nearly hit 2 random people just driving by in the middle of the day. We'll have more on that case. That's coming up.
Plus, the candidates for state attorney general are talking more about school safety, untested rape kits, and name recognition. Less than a month before the midterms, the news is back in the morning on News 3 this morning.
There is a new leader in the polls this week when it comes to Wisconsin's race for governor.
And as conversations about sexual assault are becoming more common, there's advice from mental health professionals about bringing up the topic with your kids.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to the final half hour of News 3 This Morning. 6:28 right now on this Thursday, October 11th. And oh boy, things are going to get real chilly from here on out.
Oh yeah, real chilly and real windy. All you have to do is take a look at Hattie out on the patio this morning. How you doing out there, Hattie?
Yeah, not going to get, they already are windy and chilly this morning. I'll be honest, pretty happy that this is my last trip to the patio this morning. It is much colder than it has been the last couple of mornings. We're spoiled so far this week. Take a live look from the WISC-TV sky cam. Can't see anything just yet. Skies are cloudy here. We even have just a little bit of drizzle kind of spitting outside this morning, so it's not very pleasant. 39 is our temperature, 38 in the Dells, 37 in Mineral Point. Here's a look at the winds this morning. They have been pretty steady from the west, anywhere from 10 to 25 miles an hour, gusting up in the 30 to 35 mile an hour range at times. And that really is generating a wind chill this morning. Haven't talked about wind chill in several months, but this morning I am. It feels like 30 in the Dells. It feels like it's only 27 this morning in Platteville and 29 in Monroe. Here's a look at your day planner temperatures and sky conditions. It's going to stay pretty windy through the day today. The wind should die back later on this afternoon. Skies will begin to clear out late today as well, but high temperatures will only be in the middle 40s. And your first alert traffic update at this hour. Still wanted to let you know that the Merrimack Ferry is closed due to those high winds this morning, so you'll have to have another route today. Otherwise, no accidents or delays showing up yet here in the Madison area. It is just a little bit slower northbound on Verona Road as you head towards the Beltline. And that's your first alert traffic.
All right, thanks so much, Hattie. 6:30 your time now. 2 drivers are lucky they aren't hurt, or worse, after police say their cars were randomly hit by gunfire in the middle of the day. It happened just before 1 in the afternoon yesterday at the intersection of East Washington and Fair Oaks Avenue. Officers say someone inside a car with Illinois plates opened fire, hitting a taxi and another vehicle. A round also hit the nearby Dane County Credit Union. No one was hurt. Police think the 2 vehicles hit were not the intended targets. Officers found 9 shell casings at the scene. Now, nearby, Hawthorne Elementary School had to be briefly put on lockdown during that shooting. In an email to parents about half an hour later, the principal said there was no direct threat to the school. That lockdown lasted about an hour. Hawthorne will be back open as normal today.
National activists will be at the Dane County Courthouse today in support of a Badger football player accused of sexual assault. They claim the university is preventing him from having a fair trial. Quintez Cephas is scheduled to be arraigned today in that courtroom. His attorneys have filed a lawsuit against the university, claiming the UW's investigation into sexual assault claims have violated their client's constitutional right to due process and his right to avoid self-incrimination. The university says its process is consistent with what the federal law requires the school to do. 2 women say they were assaulted by Cephas last spring on the same night. He now faces 2 felonies in connection, that is, to those alleged crimes, and is banned for the time being from playing football. We will get an update from this morning's court appearance on News 3 at noon and, of course, over on channel3000.com.
There has been a noticeable increase in the number of sexual assault survivors asking for help or sharing their stories.
But to decrease the number of people actually experiencing assault, psychiatrists in our area say we need to start talking about it early and often. Christina Lori's live in the studio this morning with more advice from those mental health professionals. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Danica and Leah. Local psychiatrists say the number of reported cases of sexual harassment has spiked in the years since the Me Too movement really took off. And now they find themselves answering a lot of questions from worried parents and kids of all ages. It's important parents intervene when kids as young as 3 or 4 show aggressive behavior. But teenage and college kids are of concern too. For them, experts say much of the responsibility falls on college administrators. Local psychiatrists say conversations should stress the importance of giving and getting consent. She says it's like offering someone a drink. If the person first says yes, but then changes his or her mind, falls asleep, or is too intoxicated to hold the teacup, you don't pour it down their throat.
We don't do a good job of constantly and repeatedly asking people to check in with what's going on.
Dr. Rickman adds it's important to empower people to come forward, feel unashamed, and recognize that it is not in any way their fault if something happens to them. Dr. Rickman says the first step is to create awareness, but now that we've done that throughout the past year, it's important to use that awareness as a fuel for change. You can find all of Dr. Rickman's advice up on our website, channel3000.com.
It's been about a week now since testimony from Dr. Blasey Ford and the sexual assault allegations surrounding Brett Kavanaugh, but this conversation is nowhere near finished, Christina.
It's been one full year this coming Monday that the Me Too movement officially began.
All right, Christina Lori reporting for us this morning. Thank you, Christina.
It is almost 6:34 on this Thursday morning, and in politics, Governor Scott Walker is back ahead of his Democratic opponent heading into November's election. That's according to the latest and possibly the last Marquette Law School poll ahead of voters heading to the ballot box this fall. Now, Governor Walker's lead is within the margin of error, 47-46 over State Superintendent Tony Evers. Evers, though, did have a 5-point lead over Governor Walker in last month's Marquette Law School poll. 5% say that they will vote for Libertarian Phil Anderson. Now, Tammy Baldwin still has a double-digit lead over her opponent, Leah Vukmir, in the race for U.S. Senate. But 4% say they don't know who they will vote for in that race.
That poll also shows Attorney General Brad Schimmel leading Democratic challenger Josh Kaul 47-43%. Kaul was in Madison yesterday, along with more than a dozen former assistant AGs. Many of them say they haven't endorsed candidates in the past, but they want new leadership at the state's Department of Justice. The AG was also in Madison this week, talking with members of the state's largest business lobby. Both candidates have now spent time talking about a key issue in this race, school safety and the office created to give safety grants to schools.
So as we get closer to that November 6th election, the Monona Grove School District is asking voters to approve a nearly $58 million referendum. That money would be used to build and run a new elementary school. It would also go towards some safety measures and toward reconstructing the high school track and football field. Now, if voters do approve the referenda on next month's ballot, it would raise property taxes by about $150 a year for a $200,000 home, that is. The district expects to grow by 1,200 students over the next 20 years. All right, we do expect to hear who will start for the Brewers tomorrow as the Dodgers put one of the best pitchers in the league on the mound. We are looking ahead to Game 1 of the series for all the National League marbles.
Oh yeah, plus there's another reason to buy local this morning when it comes to your beer. We're talking about a uniquely Wisconsin style that you won't find anywhere else on the continent, and it's brewed by UW students. That story's coming up when News 3 This Morning returns. Welcome back. We always ask you to share your morning with us here on News 3 this morning, and Jim posted this nature picture on Facebook earlier. I think that's a heron, might be a sandhill crane. Whatever it is, I saw one similar to this while I was kayaking the other day, and I don't think I'm going to get out to kayak anymore with these weather.
I would think not, unless you have a wetsuit.
Exactly. So I had to share this picture. Thanks so much for sharing, Jim.
Yeah, very cool. What does your morning look like? Take a picture, post it on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. Please use that hashtag MyNews3Morning. We like to share our favorites every morning here on the program.
6:39 your time now. Some UW students are teaming up with the local brewery to brew up the first beer of its kind on the continent. A UW genetics professor and his students discovered the wild lager yeast near Sheboygan at Indian Mound Park. That's the first time the yeast, which is normally found in South America, was found anywhere in North America. So that means this beer, it's going to be the first wild lager on the continent. That process starts over at the Wisconsin Brewing Company at 11 this morning.
There are flight simulators, a robot zoo, and a grown-up presentation on the science of distilling, all happening today. It's the start of the 4-day Wisconsin Science Festival. And across the state, there are going to be special exhibits, workshops, and seminars, including sessions on getting more women and minorities interested in STEM-related careers. You can find out more about the hundreds of events happening around Wisconsin at WISCIFest.org. That's WISCIFest.org.
Addie's back in the office, the weather office, doing a little bit of science of herself. We're going to focus on the positives that she's sharing this morning. The sun.
Yeah.
It is making a comeback at some point today, but so are the colder temperatures and an alert day for tomorrow. We'll talk with her about that coming up after the break.
First, though, it is October 11th. We want to say happy birthday to this handsome dude, Connor, and all the other kiddos turning 3 out there. Thank you so much for letting us help celebrate here on News 3 this morning.
Welcome back. You are taking a live look outside right now from the WISC Skycam out at the west side of Madison. We are going to describe this as ominous, but the sun is going to pop back out today. We will check in with Hattie for those details in a couple of minutes. There is still no word on who will be on the mound tomorrow when the Brewers face the Dodgers in the first game of the National League Championship Series. Tomorrow's game starts at 7:09 and Saturday's first pitch is at 3:09. After that, the Brewers will head to Los Angeles. It's a 7-game series, so we might see them back in Milwaukee at the end. We're hoping to hear more about tomorrow's lineup later today. That Monday night Brewers game in LA is causing a drop in ticket sales for the Packers 49ers game.
Yeah, a ticket broker in Outagamie County says that Monday night Lambeau Field tickets are usually a bit more difficult to sell, as you can imagine, but with it being a lot cheaper and more comfortable to be inside, flipping back and forth between Green Bay and Milwaukee, seats are going for $20 below face value right now, and on game day, you could find tickets at $50 or less. My goodness, even we, the measly anchors here at News 3, can afford that, I think, Hattie. It'll be a little chillier, though, over at Lambeau, considerably compared to what we've seen so far this season.
It would. News 3 this morning field trip, maybe?
Yeah.
You
Monday
know
night
it.
game is tough for the schedule, though.
A little bit.
Very tough. Well, let's talk about what once was Hurricane Michael, now Tropical Storm Michael, moving out of Georgia into South Carolina this morning. Still has winds of 50 miles an hour and a pretty fast forward speed, northeast at 21 miles an hour. So it is going to move right across the Carolinas and back out into the Atlantic later on today. And again, here's that forecast. By 11 p.m. tonight, you can see the storm back in the Atlantic. Looks like it is going to stay far enough offshore that shouldn't bother the rest of the northeastern part of the country. Now, here's a look at what's happening across the rest of the country. We have a storm system with some snow in northern Minnesota, far northern Wisconsin, another system in the south and west, and of course Sergio going to make landfall tomorrow in Mexico. Now, here's a look at what's happening a little closer to home. Satellite and radar having a tough time this morning, especially the satellite conditions, showing you a big hole in the clouds, but that is not the case. We have cloudy skies here across southern Wisconsin. We'll deal with those clouds through the morning. Clearing later today and lighter winds tonight will lead to some pretty chilly conditions, and an alert day is in the forecast for the potential for hard freeze overnight tonight. In fact, the National Weather Service has issued a freeze warning for most of southern Wisconsin. Juneau and Adams not included in that warning because the growing season has already come to an end there with earlier freezing conditions met. But here across southern Wisconsin might be the end to the growing season tonight. Future track temperatures by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Here are the numbers: 30 in Madison, 31 in the Dells, 30 in Lone Rock, and 32 in Prairie du Chien. So if you have sensitive plants, you'll want to protect them tonight. But again, you'll be very busy covering them up over the next several nights. Temperatures this morning are in the 30s in many spots: 39 in Madison and Lone Rock, 37 in the Dells, as well as Platteville this morning. Winds are a big factor early today. They're from the west, 10 to 20 miles an hour, gusting even higher at times. Now, as we go through the day, the winds will eventually shift to the north and west this afternoon, diminishing later today. It is still going to stay quite breezy through the afternoon hours. Here's a look at your forecast then. Pinpoint City forecast, even with some clearing expected later today, that northwesterly wind is really going to prevent much of a warm up. 46 in Middleton, as well as Watertown and Fort Atkinson today. To the west, still looking at mid-40s. Looks like about 43 in Prairie du Chien, 44 in Mineral Point, a little cooler in Fenimore with a high of just 42 there. 42 in Mauston, as well as Adams. Here in Madison, 46 for the high today. Temperatures will cool down quite a bit tonight. We're bottoming out at 30, and then for tomorrow, look for a high of just 43 degrees. What you won't find on this extended forecast, though, is a lot of rain, and that's a nice change. We just have a chance for rain Saturday night and then again on Tuesday. Here's our pet walk forecast. Cooper in Fall River. What a goofball.
You know what? That's my mood too, seeing all that sun.
Yeah, love it. 46. It'll be a little chilly for the walk, but really not bad to be outside today.
Grab a coat, Copper. Thanks, Hattie.
You're welcome.
Morning Sprint's coming up next right here on News 3 This Morning. Almost 6:52, time now for the morning sprint. Hattie's calling for the season's first hard freeze tonight into tomorrow. And before that, the wind's picking up and temperatures are going down.
And Christina Laurie tells us how parents can connect with their kids during the Me Too era. But we start at the Dane County Courthouse. That's where national activists will be today to support the Badger football player accused of sexual assault. 20-year-old Quintez Cephas is scheduled for an arraignment today in a sexual assault case against him. Lawyers for Cephas say the university is preventing him from having a fair trial and is violating his constitutional rights. The university says its process is consistent with what federal law requires the school to do.
The number of reported cases of sexual harassment has spiked in the years since the Me Too movement really took off, and now local psychiatrists find themselves answering a lot of questions from parents. Dr. Maureen Rickman of Psychiatric Services says it's parents themselves that can make a huge difference in the later lives of their kids by being more vigilant. She says it's important to teach kids to listen to people who say they've been abused and believe them, as long as their admission isn't causing you any problems. It's also on parents to teach kids appropriate contact and connection with others. You can find all of Dr. Rickman's advice right now on the Channel 3000 mobile app.
Christina, thank you. Madison police say they're nominating 2 building managers for a city award after they saved a woman from a sexual assault. Billy Vorlander was one of 2 construction workers working at an apartment complex on East Johnson Street Tuesday morning. Those 2 saw a man grope a woman from behind, run away, and then grab her again. Vorlander and that other building manager ran over, helped her, and flagged down a police officer who was driving by.
2 drivers are okay this morning after someone randomly shot at their cars in broad daylight. Bullets hit those vehicles and a credit union building near East Washington Avenue and Fair Oaks Avenue around 1 yesterday afternoon. Madison police found 9 shell casings at the scene. No one was hurt, but Hawthorne Elementary School nearby was put on lockdown for about an hour as a precaution. Police are still looking for that alleged shooter.
We are starting out much colder this morning than this time yesterday. Temperatures are down by almost 30 degrees across southern Wisconsin. Here are the actual numbers. If you're just waking up, it's in the 30s in many spots here in southern Wisconsin. Strong winds through the day will keep temperatures down into the 40s. We're looking at a high of just 46 degrees this afternoon with west-northwest winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. And that's your first alert forecast.
Thanks so much, Hattie. One of the strongest hurricanes to ever hit the U.S. is now down to a tropical storm this morning. Michael hit the coast of Florida as a Category 4 storm. It killed 2 people, including a child, after a tree fell on them. Heavy rain and high winds are hitting Georgia right now. Nearly 30 million people are still in the path of the storm. Here in Wisconsin, Governor Walker has the State National Guard and Red Cross on standby, ready to help if it's needed.
As we finally get ready for a stretch of dry weather, Dane County's attorney is talking about the process to lower water levels along the Ahara Lake chain later today. The county has to petition the DNR to permanently take down levels on Monona, Mendota, and Wabisa. It is one of the options, though, being considered when it comes to mitigating future flooding threats along those shorelines.
The parent company of LaCroix, based here in Wisconsin, is facing a lawsuit this morning, accused of falsely labeling its product. That company that makes carbonated water is accused of using non-natural flavorings and synthetic compounds, even though the word natural appears on the cans. The suit claims one of those compounds even causes kidney tumors, while the other is used as a cockroach insecticide. That company is denying the allegations.
Governor Scott Walker is back ahead of his Democratic opponent, according to the latest and possibly last Marquette Law School poll ahead of next month's elections. Now, Walker's ahead of State Superintendent Tony Evers 47 to 46 points, which is well within the margin of error. Evers was 5 points ahead of last month's poll. You just saw there Tammy Baldwin. She still has a double-digit lead over Leah Vukmir in the U.S. Senate race, but 4% told pollsters they don't know who they're voting for.
3 teenagers are in custody this morning in connection to a car theft overnight. The 58-year-old woman who was attacked was parked near Odana and Gammon Roads when she says a man and a woman walked up to her and said her car was damaged. They then beat her up and stole her car. Police say the teens crashed that car on Seminole Highway. Again, all 3 teens are in custody. That car has been recovered.
Madison police will look at recommendations to pay some of its officers more for being able to speak multiple languages. A private consultant group that reviewed the department encourages MPD to incentivize bilingual officers for responding to calls that could require a second language speaker instead of relying on people at the scene to help with those translations.
6:56 your time now. Let's turn it over to Josh Tim with a look at your first alert traffic. Good morning. morning, Josh.
Yeah, good morning. Just a heads up, the Merrimack Ferry is closed today because of high winds. Make sure you plan ahead and take a different route. Here in Madison, though, the Beltline is picking up between Stoughton Road and West Broadway. It's going to add a few minutes to your usual drive time. Usual brake lights on inbound John Nolan at Rimrock and Olin Avenue intersections as you move into the downtown Madison area. None of the main routes, including the interstate heading into Madison, are moving along at the usual speeds with no major delays. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thanks, Josh.
And it is a cloudy start this morning. Here's the view from the Edgewater Skycam downtown Madison. Very gray across southern Wisconsin. Temperatures are significantly colder as well. Yeah, you got to bundle up this morning. As I mentioned, we're starting in the 30s. Our forecast for the day has high temperatures right around 46 degrees this afternoon. Keep in mind, freezing tonight.
Yeah, we will keep an eye on that hard freeze potential coming up later today on News 3, and you can keep track for yourself on our Channel 3000 First Alert Weather and Traffic app.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.